This episode of the anime Lushel begins with Lushel walking through a crowd of angry people, wondering what he's doing there. He can feel their stares directed towards him. He then approaches a teacher and requests 10 barrels of material X, which surprises the teacher greatly. The teacher agrees to provide it if that's what Lushel desires. However, he also asks for a favor since he's a specialist in zombie treatment and wants to start his trade here, just as he did in Maritoni. Lushel apologizes, explaining that he can't do that right now because he's currently working at the church headquarters. The teacher then presents another request, asking for Lushel's help as an adventurer. Lushel contemplates to himself that if adventurers are in trouble, he should lend a hand, just as he promised in Maritoni. Perhaps this way, he can repay the favor to the teacher and others. The teacher is overjoyed and hurries away. He asks Lushel what's happening, and Milty answers that recently, very high-level monsters have been appearing and causing serious injuries to people. This saddens the teacher, because adventurers are like family to him. Lushel asks why they don't go to a clinic, angering Milty, who questions if he expects them to pay for treatment when they're injured. She implies that it's almost like enslaving them. The teacher returns to Lushel and asks if he fulfilled his request. Lushel informs him that it will cost 1 silver piece per person and nothing more. The scene shifts to the injured, and a person tries to take care of them. He tells a wounded individual that he'll take them to the clinic, but the injured person insists they're not wealthy and will die there. They had a great time together. Surprisingly, Lushel and the teacher enter the scene, and the crowd becomes furious, seeing Lushel as one of the heartless healers. The teacher requests Lushel to leave to avoid being killed. This infuriates the teacher, and he yells at the crowd, calling them fools. He introduces Lushel as the legendary civil hero from Maritoni, the zombie-treating specialist, and offers his help in exchange for just 1 silver piece. If you have any objections to that, then leave right now. The injured people rejoice at this development as they believe that if the legendary zombie specialist is here, they might all be saved from their condition. They request him to treat them quickly. Lushel, however, demands silence and informs them that he doesn't want to take away business from the clinics, so he won't be able to treat them every time. He asks them not to cause trouble or attack the clinics, as they are expensive. He can only help if they agree to his conditions: 1 silver piece per person, assistance from anyone affiliated with the church, like the Pope or the Valkyrie, and refraining from using titles like Zombie or Mizuki. The crowd agrees to his terms, and Lushel proceeds to start the treatment. He uses his magic, saying words like, "O sacred healing touch, O breath of this sacred land, O my beloved magic, bring peace from the breath of an angel." He uses his magic to heal everyone, and the wounds disappear, along with the pain. The people thank Lushel and suggest a new name for him, the Affordable Healer, as he treated them for just 1 silver piece. However, they realize that the Healers Guild might object to this name. They propose another name, the Battle-Hungry Healer, since Lushel enjoys fighting. Some people find both names unsuitable, and one person suggests that Zombie Enthusiast is the ideal title. Finally, they all agree on one name, Saint Eccentric Healer, and they chant it together. Lushel becomes extremely frustrated because adventurers are terrible at giving titles. The next morning, we see Lushel with Lumina. She asks why he was late as usual, and he tells her he went to bid farewell to the Valkyrie since they helped him. Lumina recalls the crowd's reaction when they said that people should put in a bit more effort like Saint Eccentric Healer. She was surprised because crowds usually don't do that for him. Then, Lumina asks if Lushel plans to go to the labyrinth and whether he'll return at the usual time. Lushel informs her that he's thinking of staying there for a while. Lumina becomes angry and refuses to let him do anything dangerous. Luciel informs Lumina that he only returns home for sleep and has plenty of food in his magic bag, so he'll be fine. He also tells her that his motto is to leave alive and don't die, assuring her that he won't take unnecessary risks. Lumina becomes angry that Luciel hasn't been gone for even a week, but he reassures her that he's safe. Luciel then mentions that his internal clock is broken, and Lumina reveals that she has prepared his new weapons, armor, and some magical items from the Pope. Luciel is delighted with his new knight's armor and praises it. Lumina also gives him an angel's pillow to help him sleep deeply and refresh for the next day. Luciel decides to go buy some food before returning to the labyrinth, and Lumina advises him not to push himself too hard and to come back within a week. Next, we see Luciel standing with the teacher, who asks if today is the Saint Eccentric Healer's Day off. Luciel is surprised by the teacher's statement and learns that the material X has run out from his stockpile, so he took a day off to acquire more. Curious, Luciel asks the teacher why he often finds him in the kitchen, considering the teacher's seniority and role as the guild's leader. The teacher confesses that he loves the kitchen, and it's one of his favorite hobbies. As they talk, a group of young adventurers enters, apparently the ones Luciel treated a few days ago during the recent battle. They're now in good health and express their desire to join the upcoming exploratory mission. They credit their recovery to Luciel, and they are grateful for him saving them from impending death. The adventurers inform the teacher, who is also the guild's leader, of their intention to join the expedition. They are now in good shape and attribute their survival to Luciel. Luciel was very pleased with this development, although they now referred to him as Saint Eccentric Healer. The teacher informed him that these young adventurers were very eager to meet and fight alongside him. He also mentioned that the death rate had decreased by 75% because these adventurers had been training tirelessly and had built up their strength and endurance. They had faced powerful monsters and had held their ground until the end. At that moment, a young man with a band tied around his head named Elite's Dono entered. He looked at Luciel and thanked him for healing his wounds in the past. Elites then asked about the physical enhancement skill that Luciel had taught them before. Luciel explained that he was still learning it himself because it was quite challenging. However, he demonstrated the skill by transforming his body into flames. Elites acknowledged that it was good, but Luciel admitted that he was still at level 1 with the skill. Nevertheless, he possessed exceptional combat abilities. Luciel was encouraged by the conversation. Then, a girl wearing a green hat entered and called out to Luciel, informing him that everyone was ready for treatment. The scene shifted to Luciel in the room with the wounded and sick patients. He used his advanced medical knowledge to treat them all at once, taking only a few minutes. Everyone felt much better and raised their hands to thank him for his help. Luciel then asked if any of them had any news about the city of Meritoni or the Valkyrie. The girl with brown hair raised her hand and informed him that she had heard that all the Valkyrie were safe. Another girl stated that she had heard of some deaths among the Dwayans. Then, a man raised his hand and told Luciel that he had some information about Meritoni. He had heard that the storm had gone out of control, and it was kidnapping adventurers and dragging them into its training hall. At that moment, Luciel couldn't help but imagine the teacher, Brood, and then the boy continued his story. He had heard that Brood had been focusing on one student, but that student had left afterward, and now Brood was putting the rest of the adventurers through rigorous training, enduring the flames. Luciel realized that the person they were talking about was indeed Teacher Brood. The boy also told Luciel about the bear cook who made everyone drink Material X, but not only that, he invented new recipes using it for people to eat. This cook was referred to as Golger San. They also mentioned that they had heard that the receptionist at the Adventurers Guild was going to get married soon. This news shocked Lucial, and he rushed towards the person who had mentioned it, grabbing his shoulders and pleading for more information. He shook him vigorously and asked him to tell him more. However, the other person admitted that he didn't know the exact details and had only heard about it. Luciel was behaving very strangely, clearly disturbed by the news, as he had feelings for one of these girls. The scene then shifts to half a year later with the defeat of the leader of the 20th floor. Luciel uses his strength to destroy all the zombies present. Thanks to his rigorous training, he finally defeats the leader of the 30th floor. Afterward, he goes to the Adventurers Guild, where the girl grabs his hand and expresses her joy that he is still doing well. She hands him a card and tells him that he did well, gaining 426 points. As a result, he can buy more robes and use magic doses. He also tells her that his magical bag can expand as needed. She is surprised and expresses disbelief in his abilities, saying he is too young for such advanced techniques. She accuses him of lying. He didn't even know how to use healing magic. He recalls the substance X, and the employee asks if he got some strange drug. He clarifies that it's not a drug. Then he remembers X and takes it out of his magical bag. Its pungent smell fills the air, and they are affected by it. They ask him to remove it immediately, thinking it's toxic. He explains to them that it's not poison, but something provided in the Adventurers Guild. It's said to be produced by using magic on a special substance created by a sage. The Pope is astonished that this substance is in the Adventurers Guild and asks for its name. Luciel informs her that it's called Substance X. It's something they force new adventurers to consume, and he believes it was originally created to awaken people's dormant talents. It's made from medicinal herbs, dragon's heart, and spiritual water, all mixed into a tablet. A sage developed a magical tool to replicate the recipe at any time, but it turned into a liquid form. The liquid version was so unpalatable that the creator changed its name. He believes it was initially called Substance X when it was in tablet form, but the liquid version was so unpleasant that the creator changed its name. Luciel informs her that the taste of X is truly awful, and he used to drink 3 tablets of it each day after every meal for 2.5 years. He emphasizes that life in this world is tough, and he felt he needed to do whatever he could to survive. He also mentions that there are no side effects, and merely consuming it makes him stronger. The Pope is amazed by Luciel's ability to consume such a disgusting substance and acknowledges his efforts and perseverance. She then asks him about the nature of the monsters he faced this time. Luciel tells her that there were 3 whites and 5 ghost knights, who initially gave him trouble, but he defeated them in the end by using the high-level recovery magic. The Pope is astonished that he can use this recovery magic at such a young age and believes he might become a sage someday. She requests that he bring her the items that fell from the monsters. As Luciel continues exploring the maze, he encounters the receptionist, Catalia, and greets her with a "Good morning." She hands him a letter from the Pope and informs him that it contains details about Substance X. Luciel thanks her and mentions that he will read it later in the maze. However, Catalia calls out to him as he leaves and wishes him luck. She assures him that if he ever faces challenging times, she will be there for him. Luciel expresses his gratitude for her kind words. On another note, Luciel enters the maze and reads the letter from the Pope. The contents of the letter state, these are direct copies of observations about Substance X in humans. There are 3 primary primal desires in humans, the desire for sleep, food, and sex. However, these desires are suppressed in those who dedicate themselves to the church. I thought this medicine could be a spark to spare them the loss of the joy of life. It has the effect of amplifying these 3 primal desires. The letter also mentions some unexpected side effects of Substance X. It appears to carry the essence of various diseases within the body and regenerates cells during sleep, facilitating skill growth. Luciel is amazed by how remarkable Substance X is and reads further in the letter. The Pope goes on to explain that there was a significant backlash due to the foul odor of Substance X, which was deemed inappropriate for the Church. Nevertheless, this medicine was the reason she became a sage. She asked the Adventurers Guild if Luciel could leave some Substance X with them so it would be available for any curious beginners who might want to try it. She hopes that Substance X might one day become the tool that saves the world. Luciel continues reading the other page, which details the results of a study on the effects of Substance X. Among the results are increased desires for food, sleep, and sex. The actual effect of Substance X enhances one of the 3 primal desires while converting that energy into an overall physical enhancement. Luciel realizes that Substance X amplified his desire for food and sleep, but completely suppressed his sexual desire. This revelation shocks and saddens him. He covers his face with the letter, feeling embarrassed and thinking that Catalia's sympathy might have been due to this perceived inadequacy. Although this world is full of beautiful women, he has never felt any sexual attraction toward them. Despite all this, he suddenly ignites with enthusiasm, beginning his training and battling monsters one after another. He does it all for his future. As he perseveres, he thinks about how he's never received any responses to his messages, but he remains determined. With this, our episode comes to an end. Stay tuned for the next thrilling episodes. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to stay updated with all the latest content.